In September 1996, More magazine ran a feature entitled "Tough Cookies. There are some women whose very stroppiness makes them noticeable." The women featured were Helen Clark, Sue Chetwin, Pauline Kingy, and Christina Baldwin. However, for me, the road to being recognised as stroppy was not painless. In 1985, our family suffered a serious family crisis following the death of our 9-year-old daughter in Canada as the result of someone else's bad driving. We brought her body home, and I was in meltdown. I had feelings of loss of control of the universe. I recognized that I needed to do something new, to look for a light at the end of a very dark tunnel. I needed to establish fresh goals, new projects, new relationships, and new things to work on. In late 1986, I enrolled in a New Start program at the University of Waikato. Still mentally fragile, I found a house in Hamilton, 1 hour away from the dairy farm, for myself and our 3 youngest children. I then joined the Qs as an adult student and enrolled in the Bachelor of Education program. It was a bit like learning to run. At first, I could hardly stagger from lamppost to lamppost. I had to steady my head to get an essay out by the deadline. The kids needed support at school during the week. Come Friday afternoon, we'd all pile into the car with the dog, guitars, and incomplete assignments, and head home to the farm to try and catch up on what was happening there. Monday mornings would find us on the road back to town for the rest of the week. Many people in our country town didn't understand why I had gone off to uni. They thought I had abandoned my husband and rural commitments and would often ask me really odd questions about why I was away so much. Although I felt physically isolated from my rural community, mentally I slowly began to feel stronger. I enrolled in a few women's studies papers and found them fascinating and the theories useful, particularly as they validated many of my experiences, both as a child in a fundamentalist church and also in some aspects of rural living. Hello, I said to myself, recognizing my stories on many occasions. I completed a feminist history paper and got 2 women's stories published in the Dictionary of New Zealand Biography. That was an important milestone for me. At my Master of Social Sciences graduation, my daughter graduated with me. Sociology classes ignited some curiosity about the workings of the dairy cooperative we supplied. I started asking questions about the dairy industry and began to attend some company meetings and to analyse things that went on there. I noticed the nearly total absence of women's voices. One incident really got me rattled. At the end of a meeting, 4 men from the podium approached me as a block. They asked me who I was, who was my husband, why was I there without him, was I a journalist, if not, what was my business, and why was I taking notes. That one incident really got me interested in the male domination of the industry. Meanwhile, there was still family to maintain. This was sometimes fraught, as any family with teenagers will know. There were several complex family crises at that time. The one with the most immediate impact was the pregnancy of our 15-year-old daughter. Now in the middle of my PhD, I decided to withdraw from university, sold the townhouse, and went back to the farm with my daughter to support her and help her rear her baby. I'm very proud of her now. So, while family was the priority at this time, the change of location back to a rural environment resulted in the theoretical knowledge I had gained having an opportunity for a practical application. Nothing was lost. With my interest in globalisation and the dairy industry still rattling around my head, I joined the dairy company supplier reps. Henry Vanderhayden was a local director and encouraged me. I regularly attended local dairy company functions and gradually began to understand what was going on. I challenged the chair quite often, for example, on the way that certain blokes got selected and paid for to attend the Dairy Board AGM in Wellington. The next year, my name magically appeared on that favoured list. Then I went to Melbourne to the first International Conference on Women in Agriculture and was really inspired by the stories of the women there. 2 years later, the second International Conference on Women in Agriculture was held in Washington, D.C. Although I was unable to attend because of the baby, Hilary Weber and Willie Geck went and came home enthused. On their return, Robin Clements and I met with them and formed the Network for Women in Dairying. This was a really visionary development. The first Dairy Group Shareholders Council was established. Without really knowing what the workload and responsibilities would be, I decided that I could now manage things at home as well as get to meetings in Hamilton. So I got myself nominated and ran an election and was, to my surprise, elected for the first New Zealand Dairy Group Shareholders Council. There were 22 men and 2 women. Meanwhile, there were major changes afoot in the New Zealand dairy industry. The call was out for Kiwi Dairies and Dairy Group to merge. The politics were running high in both camps. I volunteered to help in Anchor House, reviewing documents. The New Zealand government had stipulated that the newly formed dairy company should have a shareholders' council to monitor the performance of the board and to represent the views of the shareholders. I stood in a contested election and won a seat on the first Fonterra Shareholders' Council. I found the transfer of my skills and knowledge gained at university very significant. I now had good skills at reading and understanding documents, papers, and, most important, deconstructing the politics of the. Not long after, I was invited to represent the rural sector at the APEC Women Leaders Forum along with Hilary Weber. What a fantastic opportunity this was to be part of a panel and meet powerful women from other APEC countries. And of course, the Network for Women in Dairying has been incredibly important for me. Networking with inspiring women has sustained me more than I can say. It's a fantastic New Zealand success story. These days, I have a new and very serious cause to champion. Transpower's 400 kV proposal to ruin the beautiful New Zealand landscape. My leadership skills are now being put to use to mobilise a whole community, both as an activist and also at a submission level. The calls from the media are frequent these days. I've always found that working with the media pays off. Talk to them, be stroppy, and they will respect your story. My long-term goal is to leave rural politics better, especially for my daughters and their daughters in turn.